الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله الصلاة في بيوتكم الصلاة في بيوتكم هيا على الفلاح هيا على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
From this evening, I must give the British people a very simple instruction. You must stay at home. The way ahead is hard, and it is still true that many lives will, sadly, be lost.
So I first heard about it in January 2020. I was actually due to go on holiday in February, middle of February, and it was obviously making the rounds in the news and stuff, saying that there's this virus in China and it was spreading around the world.
I first heard about COVID-19 was when I was working in a gym. I heard it from a cleaner, and she was basically saying that someone was affected in Bradford with COVID-19. At that point, I actually spoke to management because I was working night shifts in the gym. So I spoke to management that we should take some sort of precaution, hygiene precaution to eliminate any potential chances of getting COVID-19 in the gym. I was quite devastated because of the social aspects of everyday life, going to the cinemas, meeting friends, going to the gym. So that was my initial thought. It was quite alien to me, being stuck at home, not meeting people, not meeting families.
Well, it's gone on a lot longer than I thought it would. I didn't think we'd be in lockdown for that long. You know, you've seen things on the news, it's so far away, you never expect it to actually affect you. But obviously, that looks silly now.
I think the lockdown has had a huge effect on the British Muslim community. It's had an effect on all the communities, but I do know that COVID has impacted disproportionately on the British Muslim community and other communities, ethnic minority communities and the Black community.
It was a very difficult time for each and every single one of us. Masjid, a mosque, is a community hub, a spiritual place for each and every single person. People come here to find that spiritual motivation, and it supports people in terms of mental health in many, many ways. They feel uplifted emotionally when they come to the masajid. And when we were left with absolutely no choice but to close our masjids, it was very, very difficult to begin with.
I pray my 5 daily prayers at home. Dad, he used to go to the local mosque, and due to his age, due to him being one of the people at risk, even when the rules were relaxed a bit, he hasn't been able to go back to pray. He's still reading at home and stuff.
All mosques needed to make an investment when mosques opened in July. We had to put in temperature controls, we had to log people that were coming in. So at Manchester Central Mosque here, we put in a camera to record people as they were coming in, so they could state their name and a phone number. And that obviously, that data then required to be kept safe as well. So data protection policies needed to be adhered to. We had people stood at the door ensuring that temperature checks were taking place. So then there was additional costs for things such as that. And shoe bags. You know, this again, all of these processes were put into place so that people could stay safe and we could adhere to government guidelines.
We know the way our mosques are. I mean, before pre-COVID, we have the same mat, the same rug within the mosque. And if I come in and I sneeze into the same place you come and do your sujood, that is called cross-transmission. The British Islamic Medical Association and the Muslim Council of Britain has come together to enlighten the Muslim community that cross-use of the same mat by the same person can cause cross-infection of COVID itself. That's why individual has to come with their mat into the mosque. The shoe bags, because you know the way our mosque is, the shoes are normally put on racks before we go in. And the reason why we have to come with our shoe bags is the fact that when we want to take our shoe bags, you know, we just cross that together. You want to take yours, I want to take mine. So when individual have their own shoe bags, it's already in their bag. So it will limit that interaction.
In regards to the effect on the Jummah prayer, Islam and the Quran, it teaches us very clearly to save one life is to save all of humanity. To kill one person is to kill all of humanity. Safeguarding, protecting our community, our congregation was the most important thing for us. The best choice we had to make was to close the masjid. And in regards to the Jumu'ah prayers, an alternative was given to our congregation. The Friday reminders, the sermon, which is often referred to as the khutbah, we started to deliver that on our online platform, YouTube, Facebook, and on all of our social media devices. In regards to our practice of Ramadan and the effects of the COVID pandemic and the lockdown on that, I think it became apparent that large gatherings should be prohibited for precautionary measures. We should act upon the precautionary measures. So as a response of that, some of the durus, some of the lessons, some of the teaching summaries of the Quran, which are normally provided from within the masjid, we once again went to an online platform. We used the technological advancements that were at our disposal to benefit our community from among them.
لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ, so that he can test you, that which of you, أَيُّكُمْ, which one of you, أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا, is in the best of deeds, performs the best.
And in regards to the Taraweeh, the communal congregational night prayer, which we often perform, we had to make sure that we don't do that in the month of Ramadan. So we abandoned those prayers within the masjid, and they were prayed individually or collectively within households, families together.
I think a lot of the Muslim community, we did feel targeted because it happened literally the day before Eid. It left us feeling a particular kind of way, negative. We felt negative towards the government. We felt obviously they don't care about us. Why would they do it the day before, literally on the midnight of Eid? So these questions would naturally be asked. Thankfully, I have that opportunity where I live with my family, but I can only think of those families who don't have their family members close to them. And they were able to see him. It would have been extremely difficult for them. Elderly parents who didn't have the opportunity to see their loved ones.
It did really annoy me, I can't lie, because me and my family were all excited. Every Eid is the same. We go out, we see our family, and we thought that why all of a sudden at the last minute there's a lockdown just before Eid.
I think everyone was shocked. Non-Muslims as well were shocked actually, because a lot of members within my gym and within our community were devastated that actually happened to us. You know, I think the government didn't take into account families preparing the following night the meals for families and friends.
if we had the benefit of hindsight, what the government should have done was spoken to people, spoken to those who, are in touch with those communities and reached out and had, lined your ducks in a row and given us some reasons, not just said, right, we're going to decide on the back of a fag packet, hey, we're going to lock down the Eid the night before. And that didn't happen. They didn't plan it. They didn't talk to people. They didn't empower people. They didn't give people. And, but you have to make informed choices. And we need to know and have accountability and transparency from government when they are making decisions which are impacting on people's lives in such a big way. And we didn't get that.
They could have easily gave 3 days notice. I mean, rather than give him an hour, 2 hours notice, I think, can you imagine if your child's birthday and you say to your child, oh, you know what, we're just going to not celebrate within an hour. I think it's quite stupid, that.
It was a shock to us at the moment. We weren't prepared for that to happen. So we weren't happy. But at the same time, we looked into the situation whereby, well, for the protection of ourselves, our families, we still have to follow the government guidelines. And we decided to, send out another fact sheet to support the community that, we can only meet at a particular minimum number. And if you go for Eid, this is the protocols, this is the guidelines, and this is the policies that you have to put in place just to support ourselves and our families as well.
Reading sometimes news articles and stuff, in particular where there was the Eid prayers, the way they reported on the way the Eid prayers were done. And there was social distancing and everything involved, but they tried to make it sound as though Muslims were almost spreading it by us practicing our faith. When we were following all the guidelines, we were following COVID guidelines, but they were trying to make it seem as though our communities, due to us, a lot of us from the backgrounds we're come from, living in households where there's multiple generations. They made it sound as though we were breeding grounds, our communities were breeding grounds. So I think the media had a lot to play their part in obviously instigating that Islamophobia towards our communities.
The comments that Craig Whitaker made about Black and minority ethnic communities not listening, I think, the truth is that the first people to lose their lives on the front line, the doctors and nurses, were British Muslims. So I won't be taking any lectures from an MP who's suggesting and fanning the flames of division, when in fact, if you look at the issue, all of these things that COVID has shown is that there's a correlation between the rise of COVID and existing deprivation. So no, I'm absolutely appalled, and I remain appalled by any comments from any elected member that suggest, this whole blame game of, the communities which are responsible, because COVID does not discriminate, but it does disproportionately impact on Black and minority ethnic communities.
Last year in April 2020, when a lockdown was introduced in Britain, we realized that there was a great need within the civil society to help the charities, because charities traditionally collected their money from public events like walks, running, bazaars, and so forth. And the charities were also at the forefront of helping the poor people and those in need or those impacted with COVID-19. So 3 charities got together: Rahma Mercy, Drop of Compassion, and Peace and Relief International. And together they appealed to their donors to help create a fund to help those that were impacted by COVID-19. We have given nearly £100,000 so far, and it has been given out to charities right across the country and also of all faiths and no faiths. There is no distinction being made on who was able to access this fund, because we felt that those in need is varied, and therefore the money was proportioned to those that required most. And we've had very great uptake. From the time we launched it, within the first week, we had over £250,000 requested from different charities. COVID-19 has thrown up some very strange and bizarre areas in which funds were required. I'll give you some examples. I mean, domestic abuse went up during COVID-19, and funds or charities that were helping domestic abuse victims was something that we allocated our funds to. The second was students, foreign students in particularly, who came to Britain on grants, and because they couldn't go back home and their grant ran out, they found themselves in a very difficult position. And we had charities who were working with foreign students, and we tried to help them. And there was another charity in particular that touched my heart very, very closely, and that was to do with the blind people. Now, generally, we would never think about this, but blind people require assistance, physical assistance, to be taken to appointments at hospitals and other movement around the cities. And of course, this was not possible during COVID time, so special measures had to be taken, and they required extra assistance, so charities to help them. And finally, of course, and most commonly, is senior citizens who couldn't come out of their houses to go for shopping because of greater vulnerability. And we had to then find charities who were helping the senior citizen to provide them with food and make sure that they had enough and were taken care of in their own homes. So these are sort of more varied reasons and charities that were helped.
For many charities that are very similar to ours, it will have a sort of similar setup where you have teams of fundraisers who will be out doing community events and sort of and raising funds within different communities. That was taken away from us overnight, so we had to sort of look at how we were going to continue with our levels of sort of fundraising at a time that was immensely stressful. You sort of almost forget now that people were just staying in their houses, so they were doing food runs for people, or kind of medical runs, going to pharmacies and picking up sort of medicines for people who were either vulnerable individuals or self-isolating at the time. We had staff raising kind of money and supplying like NHS wobble rooms in Cardiff and hot meals for sort of ICU staff. A lot of it sort of based upon supplying people with kind of essential stuff. And this could be, food and non-food items. So it's sort of maybe sanitizers and this type of things.
I did some volunteering. I helped with some food parcel deliveries and preparing some food parcels as well. So just with a place I used to work, so I got involved. I had an opportunity to go help out, and I wanted to obviously help out in whatever way I could. I don't think the Muslim community could have done any more. I mean, I'm active on social media. I've seen the efforts throughout the Muslim community, in terms of food banks, in terms of food deliveries, helping out in the community while the pandemic was at its pinnacle. I don't know what more could have been done. Even in terms of the way we've adjusted, our prayers and practicing our faith, we've done everything we can, to adjust during the difficult time that was the pandemic.
I'm proud of the Muslim community in Bradford West, where I represent them, the way they've stepped up and dealt with all of this, and the British community, Muslim community across the whole of the UK, the charity sector, the community sector, the business sector, coming out together to help all of their communities, regardless of faith, or and it's been really good.
The British Islamic Medical Association and the Muslim Council of Britain have done a lot of work with regards to vaccine uptake, as well as the vaccinations itself. The British Islamic Medical Association has worked with the MCB, Muslim Council of Britain, to set up a lot of clinical groups to support the uptake within the Muslim community. And this group produces a lot of policies, a lot of supporting information, a lot of posters, and as well as they go out to talk and give a lot of answers to questions that the Muslim community might need to answer some of their queries, some of their questions that they need to know about the vaccines.
Earlier this year, I was tested positive for COVID, and that is something I would not wish upon anyone in this world. It was the worst feeling. It was horrible. I can't even put into words how it felt. It felt like you were at death's door. That's not even an exaggeration. It was really bad. Hence why this virus killed people. It was that bad that it took people's lives away. You'd cough a lot. There was so many different symptoms. Whereas for me, I just felt like I was tired all the time. I was constantly drained, mentally drained at the same time. They found a vaccine and clearly it is working. So if you are hesitant, just do it. You want to protect your family, you want to protect the people around you. More importantly, you want to protect yourself.
It's not been easy. Of course it's been hard, but we literally are in this together. And everybody's heard that time and time again. You know, we've had the anti-vaxxers out, we've had those out saying, you know, these are our freedoms and curtailing them, etc. But the truth is, we've got a long road ahead of us too. The mental health issues that are coming, that are now we're seeing early signs of, the loneliness that people have experienced, the grieving alone and not being able to grieve. These are psychological scars that will stay with families, stay with generations, you know, people, different generations of that family. And we need to be strong because we're still not out of it yet. And we need to be kind to ourselves and take care of ourselves and look after ourselves, because we're not out of the woods. And we're going to be picking up the pieces of COVID for a very, very long time. And this is a time where we've got this far. We've done a whole year, more than a whole year. And inshallah, you know, we'll be out of the woods soon. We'll be a vaccinated country, a vaccinated world, and get back to normality, whichever way that will pan out and what shape that will look like. I don't know. But, you know, you've done amazing. My constituents have been amazing. The people I've met have been amazing. The key workers. And it's just thank you to everybody who's played their part, from being at home, from caring, from running the shops, from running the taxis, to running the takeaways, to running the hospitals, for the porters, for the doctors and nurses. You know, we were all in this together.